Tuesday, everybody. I think we're about to get rolling here with our kind of random Egoversary tasting. Um, I've got Harmony from KWM here as my co-host, and color commentator James Bourne, who has three whiskeys in tonight's tasting, but his sister company has three of the others. So, kind of makes sense. But he also is a big fan of one of those whiskeys from that other portfolio. And then there's a Bowmore. So, I mean, there's a lot of things about this tasting that are kind of random. Uh, I mean, literally, it was just an excuse to pour the Berry Brothers, the MacPhail's 30, uh, to be honest, the Ardbeg and the Bowmore, and then curiosity about the Glenmorangie, the Tormore, and the Benrinnes. So nothing ties them together other than just an opportunist looking for a tasting range. And I don't know, I think this is kind of a fun, it's going to be a fun lineup. I think it's going to be all over the map stylistically, but kind of fun. We did put it into the oh, Harmony's already put it back into the chat. I put it in the waiting room chat, but the order there for you. Evan,
There should be an asterisk on this order. I mean, there's plenty of good guesswork.
yeah. And like, I don't know if he actually sampled any of these before. Harmony says no. Um, and there's some things about it that are a touch on the odd side. Like starting with that blended malt seems a bit odd. But it's such a delicate, beautiful whiskey that I think we wanted to keep it to kind of put its best foot forward. And doing that before you get into some funky Tormore and bigger sherry casks and then peat probably makes some sense. Uh, so I think let's just dive in. No faffing about here, as they like to say in the old country. Um, I could throw up some tasting stuff, but I will say this. We are going to drop some new tastings tomorrow, including Ardbeg Day in-store tastings, which are going to be pretty epic this year because this is the 25th anniversary of the Ardbeg Committee. So the Ardbeg in-store tastings will include the 25-year-old, which is kind of fun. So that'll be a baller lineup. We're going to do the 17, the latest edition of the Trayvon, and it'll be the most baller Ardbeg Day tastings I think we've done probably ever. Uh, Also dropping tomorrow, there's going to be a Springbank tasting. It likely will sell out in 10 minutes like the last one did. I
Or
could
10
tell
seconds.
you that the tasting schedule will go live at a specific time tomorrow, but I don't know when that'll be or when the newsletter will go out. I mean, I need people to proof it who sometimes don't like to be rushed. So it'll go out in the morning, probably before 10. Just saying there's going to be some tastings on there you won't want to miss out on. Birthday festival, some society tastings. I think I'm forgetting. Oh, an Ardent American tasting as well too with Carl Crafts because dropping tomorrow in the store is the Ardent American 10-year-old sherry and Madeira cask as well. So lots of fun things to look forward to. And Max, I have no idea which batch of Ardbeg 25 it is. It's whichever one is sitting in a box in my office. Probably 2024 though, if I'm guessing. I would say is a safe bet. But if you email either Harmony or I'm sure we can check out the box because there is a spare bottle in the store as well too. All right, I said we weren't going to faff about, we were going to dive right into it. So we're starting off with our blended malt. And as much as this tasting was jokingly about my ego 2 weeks late, it's really, we needed a reason to pour this in a lineup and then buttress it with some other fun stuff to taste. So we're starting off with our recently arrived Berry Brothers 1999 KWM Cask 25-year-old. This is a sister cask to a bottling that we saw in store about 6 months ago, or sorry, 8 months ago, 18 months ago. We sold out of it about 4 to 6 months ago. Um, but the crazy thing with this is that this particular release is even better. It's even more old school. It's even more tropical. It's got those nice antique dusty old whiskey notes that we absolutely adore that we just don't see enough of anymore. And we can speculate about what this is, but before we do that, it's 48%. Cheers, everybody. I just want to quickly say thank you for taking part in this tasting and in other tastings, for allowing us to do what we do. So, Slange.
Plancha. Mm,
Oh, that's not a bad whiskey to start a tasting with.
that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
did we just start a whiskey with Highland Park 30?
Oh, yeah. So chocolatey. I mean, as much as, and James, you kind of led off where I was going to go, as much as we talk about these mystery blended malts as being Macallan, and I think we often emphasize that edge of it because it helps to sell them. Like there's a certain clientele or a certain group of people out there that just love hearing the word Macallan. But I think you nailed it. Like this is Highland Park heavy. Like this has got more
Yeah,
of that
definitely.
DNA, that gentle peat, that really soft, clean smoke, the honey, the gentle maritime tones to it. I mean, this is very Highland Park forward.
What else, like, are other things possible? Like, could it be Glenrothes, Glenturret? Like, are those
There,
things?
there's almost certainly Glenrothes in it. I mean, if I was a betting
Mhm.
man, I'd say there's almost certainly Glenrothes in it. But then there could also be, given its age, Glengoyne, Tamdhu, Glenturret. Like there's a lot of other components that could be in there. And the
Hmm.
reality is we don't know. Like, and I've pressured Berry Brothers and they're like, it's from Edrington, but like I don't think they even know what's in it.
Yeah, it sure has Highland Park signatures, though.
Yeah. And that, your comment about Glenrothes is an interesting one because it's got these nice kind of bright citrus orangey notes, which
Mhm.
is one of Glenrothes' signature notes. However, like I mean, speaking for myself, Glenrothes is a very I don't know. It's a hit or miss whiskey for me stylistically. And while I have had some gorgeous old Glenrothes bottlings, like to me, this is leaning more in that Highland Park direction.
I know I always expect that there's going to be something discombobulated on the palate if it's Glenrothes,
Mhm.
Mm.
but that's not the case here.
Unless it's one of those old, like refill bourbon Gordon MacPhail Glenrothes bottlings.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's definitely, yeah, that's usually the outlier, but
Mhm. But really
that's
expressive
usually
on the
because the
palate.
wood is kind of covering it, though, to be fair.
Yeah, totally. Harmony, any thoughts on this for you?
This is like the like Yogi and Boo Boo Bear picnic basket on a beach for me. Like it's got like that like salty woven basket with like your PB&J sandwiches, your sliced oranges, your honey and berries. It's got a little coastal note, like I feel like I'm outside. I absolutely love it.
Hmm.
It's delicious.
And like, he's not the forest fire bear, right? Like that's a different
No,
bear.
it's a different bear.
Yeah, that's fair. Probably good to know.
I thought she was maybe referring to a stuffed animal that we're still attached to.
That goes on picnics.
Yeah. I'm like, you
Oh,
can
I
do whatever you
mean,
want with your stuffed animal.
absolutely. Yeah, really, really nice. I mean, I don't think we need
Salty
to
chocolate.
just blather on about this, but it's very good, very drinkable, old
Yeah,
style
the
whiskey.
critique is that maybe it doesn't have like, second and third layers of complexity to it, but
Mm.
it kind of doesn't need them.
No,
No.
those chocolatey tones, I think are great. The fruit notes are great. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
very
that's
drinkable
wonderful.
and good value for how old it is. What was that up there? Was it 275? 275. So hard to get a cask strength 25-year-old whiskey for 275 in this market, but there you have it. So let's move on to the Tormore 2002. We will come back if you're not familiar with the way we like to do things for these tastings. We'll come back and do a speed round a little later just to see how they change, how the whiskeys evolve in the glass. So we're now going to the space side to the Tormore distillery for a 20-year-old Tormore from a single refill sherry hogshead cask. I'll pop her up on screen here. So what is, yeah, 20-year-old, 2002 vintage Tormore. I'm a big fan of Tormore. I think, you know, for me, I often prefer like refilled bourbon or ex-bourbon cask Tormore because it's got such a delicate, fruity, funky profile to it. Um, but right off the bat with this one, it's interesting that sherry combined with that. It's like going into the mall and you're going next to one of those Colonel's places, and they're in the middle of like brewing up a batch of double caramel popcorn.
Oh my gosh.
It is so buttery and so kind of decadent and almost over the top on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Bitters.
Yeah, this is always interesting. I only tried the cask sample originally, and I don't remember that note.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's, that's 2.5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna sound funny, but it kind of smells. I'm actually gonna say it doesn't really smell like butter. It smells like margarine. Like it smells
Oh,
like the artificial butter flavor.
you can't believe it's not butter. Or you
I
can.
know I'd
You're
teed that up.
saying you can believe it's not butter. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe you're making that caramel corn with like olive oil instead.
Well, I
you
was gonna
bet.
say someone here must have a boomer parent that still uses margarine. Yep.
My in-laws,
Yeah,
God bless them. Uh, yeah.
absolutely. That's
I
what
know I
it
kind of
is.
opened a can of worms by saying that, but
It's true though. It's
It's
100% true.
starting to get a touch vegetal,
Mm-hmm.
like also getting like a bit of a celery salt note coming off of it now.
Yeah,
hmm.
very cool. It's got like a light cheesiness in there for me.
It's a bit of a roller coaster on the palate. It's kind of going like this. Either
Yeah.
that or it's like it's vibing. Like it's at a party and it's having a good time. It's just vibing to the beats.
Yeah.
Tormore always has a little bit of a fun and
Mhm.
interesting twist to it, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, I think that's one of its charms. It's like this,
Like, they're never serious.
no, it's kind of like a tamed, farmy, barnyardy note to it that it's got.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and more approachable than like other, actually geographically not far barnyardy distilleries like Benrinnes, which is, if I'm not mistaken, not, just a little bit on the other side of the mountain from this guy. But it's funny, refill sherry, it has a bit of color, but not much. Um, I don't know. If I were a betting man, I would guess this is American oak sherry.
Yeah, I agree.
It's spicy.
Well, I think
Well,
that's
I
what
even wonder if some of that lactic character could come from the wood and not from the distillate.
it's possible, but I mean, I do kind of associate Tormore with having a bit of a cheesy, funky
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah,
Now,
like cheesy salty for me.
yeah, I can't comment. I mean, I think I got to look back on this. I think well, I know Tormore under Elixir Distillers now has gone to like really long fermentations, but I seem to remember that it might have been reasonably long fermentations before that under Chivas. The tricky thing though is, and I know, granted, this is a Gordon MacPhail cask, so it's a little different, that one of the things Chivas Pernod Ricard got in the habit of doing in the last 5 to 8 years is whiskey, like costs of casks, everything started to skyrocket, is they were filling the casks at still strength. And I know one
Oh,
of the first things that Oliver Chilton said when they took over the distillery was they immediately started taking the spirit and like diluting it down to 63.5%. Because one of the things that's sort of interesting, and I think it bears out in whiskeys, I don't think that it matures well when you start higher than like mid 60s in terms of ABV. I think it just makes it much harder for the spirit to mature in the cask.
mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it just quite literally doesn't interact with the chemicals in the wood correctly.
correct. Yeah. Um, one other little note there that I got just going back to it is like Tootsie Roll sprayed with hairspray. I don't know when in your life you might come across that, but
Like in the 90s.
maybe like if the kid got a little too close to mom while she was like trying to fortify her dome or helmet.
Yeah, interesting.
Tom is getting existential.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question, Tom. It's definitely both. I don't know if I don't know if I mean, granted, we've been doing this a long time. I would have to imagine I want to put my money on it's the oxidation is bigger, but I'm not sure. Like, there's been lots of times where it could easily go both ways. James, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
Yeah, my gut is that the oxidation is a bigger factor, but that you can't discount the change in perception. Like similarly, the food that you eat will definitely have an effect
Mhm.
on your taste perception.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, there's all those different combinations. Even the temperature.
Yeah.
Like it's over 20 degrees here in BC. Like the
Yeah.
whiskey's just it's a little bit different than
Yeah.
it's like
It's,
4 degrees warmer than usual.
well, and it's 18 here, James, but without the humidity that you guys have. So again,
Yeah.
like I've talked about this before. Like I know when I've been in Vancouver and I've done tastings for clubs out there, and like 40 minutes into the tasting, the whiskeys are all going hazy
Yeah.
because there's
Mhm.
just so much moisture in the air and it gets pulled into the spirit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, environment plays a big role too. I guess I guess our cop out answer for you, Tom, is it's complicated, and I think it depends. Is the other big part of that is there's so many variables that you can't control for, and especially in a lineup of things where, admittedly, it's already all over the map. If you were doing like 7 Glendronach single casks, all from sherry, it might be, that would probably almost certainly you'd be able to say it's the spirit that's oxidating more. But
Mm.
where we're like up and down and all over the place on this tasting, I think it's hard to say. So anyway, any final thoughts on that last one, guys, before we move on?
Nope. No, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this next one.
I'm getting a stale bowl of grandma's hard candies now, probably from a city with a little bit more moisture than Calgary. So they've stuck together. You got to get out like an ice pick to separate the hard candies from each other in the bowl. Why she didn't just leave them in the wrapper, I don't know. One of those mysteries.
I
But
wouldn't eat candy that is stuck together that way.
well, I mean, when you're a kid, you don't care. It's like there's sugar there. It's a source of sugar. Like James, would that stop your children from eating candy from a bowl?
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No.
No, in fact, I immediately would be conscious that I need to keep an eye on them because it's going to get out of control.
Yeah.
This is one piece.
I remember like we had a fancy dinner one time. We turned our back on like Chloe, and when we got back to the hotel later that night, like the next morning, the floor beside her bed was just littered with the wrappers of empty candies that she was like eating all night. So
So
yeah,
she had a great sleep that night.
great sleep. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the MacPhail's 30. So James, I don't know if you want to lead us in on this because we brought them in, we poured these at the Rare and Old Festival in the fall. They probably haven't had a ton of fanfare, but I mean, these are some pretty cool, really good value bottlings. And this is certainly the first time we've put this into a virtual tasting.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I was chatting with someone a couple days ago about the G&M I think has established this reputation of kind of being like top shelf, and a lot of the single casks, like, you know, you kind of know what you're getting a little bit. So it comes across, I think, sometimes a little weird when it's like, hey, here's like a good value G&M. I think it makes people a little bit skeptical, is what I'm learning. So MacPhail's is a range that they've released many times over the years. In fact, I think originally it started as a way for them to kind of dump off like second tier Macallan casks that were older. So yeah, I know that. In fact, it seems to be reflected at auction. Like the early MacPhail's bottlings go for like insane amounts. Like clearly the cat's out of the bag of what's in them.
Mhm. But a lot of those too were they for whatever. Well, it was the prior generation. They were all mostly at 40% as
Oh
well
yeah.
too. Um, Often with those terrible screw caps. I
Yep.
mean, there's a lot of funky stuff going on.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, they had, 10, 15, 25, 30, 40. I'm sure there was 50-year
Yeah, there
olds
was
stuff
50.
out there too.
Yeah.
But then confusingly, like they also did like, and I remember this because we had a MacPhail's Tormore, like 40-year-old Tormore, about 10 or 11 years ago that was under the MacPhail's line as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
as soon as you get into like old G&M bottling history, it gets pretty confusing pretty fast.
yeah,
And
but
I think that might come back again this year. We might see some new ranges. I don't know for sure, but
well, I mean, regardless, I think, what was cool about this and the release of its sister bottling, the 50 year, which is admittedly in a different league, but still, like, you're not going to find a lot of 50-year-olds in that price range. I'll just put that one up quickly for a moment there too. Is you've got single malts, 46%. They're not disclosing the distillery they came from. I mean, you can certainly guess. And stylistically, I think some of these have a style that points towards a couple of usual suspects, if you will. But
yeah, I can confirm it's one of those usual suspects.
yeah, possibly one with an old school kind of crest with a rather Scottish looking dude sketched on the label.
And cannot confirm
You
nor deny.
cannot that's okay. We won't
Yeah.
delve too far down that road. Well,
Yeah.
right off the bat on the nose, I mean, there's some really nice fruity tones to it, some nice caramel notes, a little bit of leather in there. It's quite bright, and there's almost this like effervescent kind of bubbly note, like kind of hitting my nose.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's very lifted and zesty. Kind of gives you a little bit of a hint of, narrows it down probably to realistically probably like two options of what it could be.
James, Moscato d'Asti. There's a bit of Moscato d'Asti on the nose with this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like it's almost like a little bit pithy.
Mhm.
Um,
Harmony.
Um, Originally I was thinking of the new Werther's Originals with the
Oh,
chocolate center.
are those toffee phase?
No, they're Werther's original
Oh,
brand, but they have a
okay.
coffee scent. They should have never been made.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I have no opinion on these. I was
I'll
thinking,
consume hard candies if they're around, but I'm not in the market to buy them. So I
me
yeah.
kind of
too.
rely on what I can scavenge in the wild.
Yeah.
No, I think what you're
I
getting at
like
though, this
that
is
bright citrus at the end of it, which is really nice.
yeah, it really kind of like rescues it in a way.
It does, yeah.
I was gonna say one of the things that I've noticed that I do mentally is sometimes like when if this was a regular CC bottling or even private collection, like I think I naturally have a tendency to like look for the good in it. I think because it's good value, there's this like mental gymnastics that I do where I'm like trying to look for the faults and like
Like,
what am I gonna have to apologize for? Do you know what I
what did
mean?
they trick us into with this
Yeah,
particular
exactly. It's like
release?
someone once told me that that's like how they view Compass Box. They just assume that because it's blended that there's like they're trying to like sneak casks in and
Hmm.
like put a fancy label on it. And I think a little bit of that happens with me with this. Now, from experience, I know for sure this whiskey like desperately needs air to show its best.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this is one where
Yeah,
Tom,
I
time
will
will be
say
more
too,
crucial.
does this to maybe have a touch of sulfur to you guys?
So I haven't gotten that yet.
I'm
Yeah,
eating
it's
olives, so my palate should not be trusted.
No, and I had my wife and I had well, me more reluctantly, vegetarian burgers tonight. And
Oh,
yeah, I have to say those are a
that's
little harder on the
disappointing.
palate than regular meat. But I don't know. I mean, I don't find a sulfur note to this thing. There's definitely a spice to it, like
Mhm.
especially
Yeah,
on the
I
palate,
guess.
leaning towards like leaning towards like licorice or clove.
And I
No,
was leaning
it's not
toward
like explicit. It's I think what it is more, sometimes I get a sense from sulfur that it like kind of like pinches the aromas and just puts like a bit of a blanket on them. And
Mhm.
does
that's what I
water
get here.
help?
And I do notice, again, I've noticed in the past that it is something that blows off.
Mhm.
But I sometimes think too, like spirit like this that's lighter. I feel like in this case, it's kind of like just barely holding on in the battle with the cask.
Mm.
And that maybe is part of it too. Like the sherry's kind of sitting on top of the spirit a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know I kind of sounded like Kurt there, but
Well, I mean, for me, like this is not like insanely complex. And I think it's losing a little bit of that because of the ABV. I think if this
yeah.
was bottled at a higher proof, and I think
Yeah,
the
by the way, on the
problem,
complexity thing, just wait for the speed round.
but I think part of the problem there though, James, is that we're like you and I in Harmony and a good number of the people that are on the chat tonight are all used to drinking higher proof spirits. They're used to getting
Yeah, that's
something
so true.
more impactful. What I noticed about this when I took the first sip of it is like, wow, that is crushable.
Yeah.
Like I could very easily see myself consuming like a third of a bottle of this before I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, like it should be bottled at like 48%.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could crush this, I mean, for spending $500 on a bottle, you really want to enjoy it, but dang.
At
To,
46% too, like it begs the question too, like were these casks that could have gone in to Connoisseurs Choice? Like when this first came
mm,
out, like my thought process was, could this be like $699 and be a 30-year-old Connoisseur's Choice, especially given, knowing what the distillery is. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
well,
I don't think they're going to continue it. Let me put it that way. I think that it's a
mm,
fun experiment. I'm glad they did it, but I don't know if we're getting a range of these. I think that they're gonna iterate on this idea for sure in the next couple of years, but I don't think
right.
it's gonna be specifically MacPhail's.
Well, I think James, the other thing that I would certainly be, and I mean, this is maybe not even fair, that I'd be kind of comparing this up against is that I think it's in the cellar, so I'm not going to grab it, but it's that the Cairn 30-year-old.
Yeah,
Like maybe when we get to the second round, this will show
which
better,
is
but
the same price.
it's the same price. That Cairn 30-year-old is incredible. And it's a
Yeah,
whether it's
it's
actually or
different
not.
distillate, by the way.
Yeah, I know it's different, but it's a blended malt.
Yeah,
Whereas this is,
this
or
is
at
a
least
single malt.
this is a teaspoon, blended malt.
Yeah,
But
it's not even teaspoon. It's just pure single malt.
yeah. Oh, the Cairn. They're just calling it a blended malt
Oh,
because
sorry. Yeah, the Cairn is blended malt, but
yeah.
yeah, MacPhail's is not.
No, that's what I was
Yeah,
referring
yeah.
to. Anyway, um, it's lovely. I'm excited to see how that opens up. Bad news for Flames fans, we are down 1-0. Um, we need this win tonight. So anyway, FYI. What's next here? We got Signet Reserve. So Glenmorangie, the Signet, obviously a famous release of theirs for quite some time. Famous Highland distillery. I'm waiting on confirmation to see if we'll see more of this. I'm sure we will. But we initially only got a small number of bottles. We put one of them in tonight's tasting because that's what we like to do. I did get a chance to try this in Ottawa at Whiskey Wonderland, admittedly with not quite as good a glassware as this. But 46%, it's a parcel of Glenmorangie Signet, matured for an extra 12 months in Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. So this is that chocolate malt whiskey where they're roasting the malt, or at least a high proportion of it before they mill it, mash it, ferment, and distill. And Signet's kind of a famous whiskey. If you've never tried it, I'm not really sure I know how to sum it up for you. James, maybe you've got, or Harmony, one of you guys have a way. Like it's kind of a decadent,
mhm.
like a light decadent but rich whiskey.
Yeah, like they've done a good job of kind of packing all the flavors you normally associate with like richness, but without kind of the fruitiness. It's just
Mhm.
like the vanillas and the chocolates and the
Mhm.
Yeah.
like it is a
Coffee.
little bit textural. It really has that like I don't know, I always get like that almost like fresh roasted coffee, that kind of creamy espresso.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I think they talk about tiramisu.
Tiramisu is
Yeah.
Yep.
like, is for sure. It's
Yeah.
all over that for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
So,
even like that texture of the layers seems to come through for me on it.
so I think with this, like the idea is they wanted to dial that up and
Mhm.
kind of make it even more extravagant, make it even more decadent. And I don't know, I can kind of see that it's become like more chocolatey, more rich,
Well, the
more
color is
syrupy.
aggressive.
The color is
Fudgy.
aggressive. Well, we can speculate, James,
Yeah.
whether we think it's wet fill or not.
Yeah,
It's
if I'm being honest, like I mean, I know this is unnecessary, but like the color has like an it's weird. I don't know if I've ever seen a whiskey with this color. Like it's kind of got almost like a red, like it
yeah.
looks like a Morrow.
It does
Yeah,
look.
it does. Yeah. It's a really good call, actually.
Well, actually, James, I'm not sure that's true. I think you have seen whiskeys with this color, and they're from Dalmore. Really old Methuselah sherry finessed
Oh
40-year
yeah.
old Dalmore back in the day.
It's uh it's like the chocolate with the coffee grounds right
Yeah.
in it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, or it's like when you ask for a cappuccino, and then next thing you know, they're shaving chocolate on it. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like $17 per bar chocolate. So
Yeah, still.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I really enjoy this. This isn't I mean, it doesn't feel like your typical Scotch, but
no, it doesn't
it's
really at all.
it
But it
doesn't
is
really
fun.
scream Scotch.
Well, this is a
But
good question. What would you guess this would be if this was served to you blind? I probably would guess that it was rye.
probably just the
Like maybe
spice.
from like a small craft distillery.
And they
I'm
put coffee in the barrel.
I might go more like sherry cask rum. Like
Yeah, that's a
and I'm
good
trying to
guess.
think like I mean, obviously it'd be like it actually reminds me. So I know Black Tot has like a new version coming out that was finished in sherry casks in a Solaris system. And I got a chance to try it when I was over a year ago. This reminds me of that. Like it reminds me of that Black Tot Caribbean finest blend, but finished in a sherry cask.
This to me
Cool.
is a classic example. Like if I'm being honest too, I really enjoy this.
Hmm.
But would I go back to the bottle? I wouldn't reach for it.
No,
But I guess James, I mean, devil's advocate here on this. Are they bottling this for whiskey connoisseurs? Or are
no.
they bottling this for
Yeah.
people that
I
like
don't know.
fancy
I mean, I
things?
guess like I like to think that, I have some of those bottles on my shelf, right? Like
Hmm.
that aren't for whiskey connoisseurs, but I still enjoy them.
Hmm.
Uh,
But I
is
don't know.
there what's that the liqueur like liquor 43?
I
That's
know of it.
it's used in a lot of like tequila and coffee recipes. Like when you're gonna make a
Right.
cocktail, you use tequila or rum, and you
Yeah, it's
have
some
some
sort
sort
of
of
an Amaro.
coffee. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of a tequila cocktail that Kurt and I had when we were in Guadalajara. And they put like it had like a foam cappuccino like layer on top, and they put three little coffee beans. But this is exactly what it tastes like.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's made in Cartagena, Spain. And apparently there's nothing like it. So I
Mm,
I I know of Liquor 43. I don't know that I've ever tried it. I'm sure I've had it in a cocktail before.
tastes like
Um,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, really.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest,
Sammy,
there's a
that
few of
sounds
those
delightful.
Amaros that kind of are in this flavor camp. Like if you've ever had Maletti or yeah, there's a few that kind of have that like sarsaparilla kind of character to them and yeah.
Yeah.
going back to your comment though, James, I think as good as it is, and it's good, like
Mhm.
this is something I'd be happy to have a dram of, but I'm not sure it's something that I personally would ever buy a bottle of.
Well, okay, so like I would be very tempted to mix this with something.
I
I mean,
would
like I
too.
mean that in the nicest way, but
I would mix
You
this
tell, what would you mix it with?
hot
well, I
chocolate.
I would mix it with that 2002 Tormore that was all like buttery and
Oh,
creamy.
well, maybe if there's
Ooh.
enough left at the end, we'll do
Oh
some.
yeah, it's happening.
Yeah. The
All right, saving.
well, I
Save.
mean, I think what you've done there, James, is you've Michelin starred a dessert. You've taken caramel corn and you've injected it into tiramisu.
Okay, well, one of the things I always kept around was, okay, you know when you get like an independent bottler that's usually from a refill hogshead and you're kind of hoping it's spirit forward and it ends up being like a little bit dull and you kind of don't go back to it. I've had a few of those bottles over the years. I always find the magic ingredient to bring them to life is hedonism.
Mm.
You just like splash some hedonism in them. It brings the ABV down,
You're just making a blend.
kind of, right? And then sometimes then I find I'm like excited to go back to them.
Hmm.
Mm.
This could do that same thing where like if you had kind of like a buttery, creamy, like refill hogshead that didn't was kind of like missing that X factor, splash of this in there would like bring it to life.
You know that if Dr. Bill stumbles across this, you will have just broken his heart. So
Okay, he walks by my office sometimes and we can talk it out.
that's
Are you
fair.
are you saying we all need to stock up on shelf stock of hedonism for bottles such as this that we get roped into?
We
Well,
can't,
yeah,
Harmony.
when
We
it's gone,
can't
I
it's
stop
know.
gone.
doing that.
Shelf stock, dusty bottles.
Oh, you mean we got to go buy it from other stores?
Yeah, we're gonna just have to hunt.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
an Instagram channel, isn't there? I caught Andrew Ferguson shopping at another store. It's just
Right.
photos of
Is there really? That would be amazing
no.
if there was.
I have
I
like
mean,
10 of those photos in my
I'm not
phone.
gonna lie, like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, before people knew who I was, I would totally do that. I would go into Liquor Depot and Co-op and I'd be like, how the hell do they still have this? And
Oh,
it's so
sure. Yeah,
cheap.
dusty hunting in
And
Alberta is very
I
much
would
alive
buy
and
them
well.
and bring them into the store, which is totally legal, put them in a normal markup. People were thrilled to get them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. Anyway,
Yep.
a different time. Uh, let's move on to another Gordon MacPhail release here, James. We've got a Benrinnes 2001. I'll put it up on the screen. What do we know about this Benrinnes 2001?
Well, every once in a while I get price lists from Richard and he puts the color classifications on them. And sometimes I'm willing to take a flyer on something like this based on the color. I kind of was expecting it might be a little bit weird, but at the end of the day it's 20-year-old Gordon MacPhail sherry. And sometimes these like because the sherry casks are so good usually, sometimes you almost hope that it's kind of weird distillate and that combination can be a lot of fun.
Right. Well, I mean, Benrinnes for me is a distillery that I rarely get excited about until it's in its 20s.
Yeah.
Um, find it
Yeah,
way
that's
too
the thing. Like,
heavy.
admittedly, if this was 15 or 16, I would have probably been less likely to order it.
Mhm. I know this is not a perfect analogy for this, but it kind of makes me think of Manischewitz for a reason. It's very grapey.
Hmm.
I got red apples. Like just the skins, really. Like I've been peeling apples all day.
I'm now into like grape hubba bubba.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're like a distinct
Right.
plum note to
That's
me.
good.
Like,
Plums, yeah.
Mhm.
Plums are good note.
Not sharp. There's no rough edges to it. What was the ABV on this guy? 50.9.
hmm, yeah. I know the palate on this I absolutely adore. Like it just really kind of expands and
Lots of citrus on the
nice and
palate.
long.
So much
It gets a
like
little meaty though, for sure.
Hmm.
I was gonna say it's like a sweet dark chocolate tobacco, almost like
Yeah,
going into
tobacco
like
based.
mole sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I think like the distillate is contributing to that. Like Benrinnes is well situated to again take an old sherry cask like this and be like, oh no, I'm still here. Whereas like the You know, the MacPhail's 30 was like kind of on the verge of being swallowed by its cask. Like this is not at all,
Mhm.
but yeah, but it's pretty heavily sherried.
And on the palate, I mean, you don't, and this is maybe not even a criticism, but like it doesn't come across Benrinnes-esque. Um, like I don't think I would ever guess this was Benrinnes blend. I mean,
No.
granted, I'm sure most people, if presented a whiskey sample, likely under most circumstances would never Benrinnes would never be near the top of their list of things to guess. But it doesn't have that kind of slightly farmy barnyardy note that the younger ones
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
there'd be more likely answers. I mean, again, it does have that richness on the palate of like clearly it's a heavier distillate, but
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's like it's in there a little bit on the finish, but yeah, it's definitely not the first thing you experience with this whiskey.
Mhm. But I don't know, with each sip, that one's kind of growing on me a little bit. So
Yeah.
not bad. Uh, all right. Anything else to say about that one before we dial the ABV down all the way to 7 or to 40%? Which probably means you should have a big sip of water or something to refresh your palate
Yeah, it's a big whiskey. Yeah. Claude says longest finish so far. I would agree.
for the Benrinnes.
Hmm.
I mean, I put that one in the lineup because I hadn't tried it. I think I had probably the lowest expectations for that one, and it's definitely surpassed them. So, which is not to
Yeah.
say I didn't think it would be good. I don't know. It takes a lot for me to get excited about Benrinnes. So,
Yeah, this is one I would go back to, but yeah, again, it's not like this is a textbook example of Benrinnes by any stretch, but is it a lovely sherry cask that has some oomph and some character? Yes.
mhm. All right. On to the Ardbeg. So this is the re-release of the 17 year. I do need to take that limit one per customer off because we were graciously offered a little bit more of the stock. Bottled at 40%. I know there's been a lot of, I think it's fair to say, controversy over the ABV on this because, you know, on one
I might
level,
even say pouting.
yeah, like why? Like I think that's people that are like accustomed to drinking Ardbeg, where even the 10-year-old is 46%, I think would rightly say why. But I think what people need to remember is that they didn't do this. Well, I suppose cynically you could maybe suggest they did it for commercial reasons, but I think the real reason they did this is they wanted to be as true as possible to the initial release of the Ardbeg 17, which right up until they stopped releasing it, which was when it was, I think, 2006, it was 40% ABV.
Yeah. I think
And
people saw the price maybe too and kind of hoped, but not realizing that if this was bottled at like 52%, it would not be $250.
no, it'd be 400 probably.
Yeah, it'd be 400 exactly.
So, I mean,
Or, $20 below the 19.
well, here's the thing. I know it's funny. A lot of people, because we did a lottery when we first got it, and a number of people, and fair enough, their names were drawn, and then they decided, oh, I don't want it. I didn't realize that it was, bottled at 40%. And, tried to explain to them. And I think, fair enough, again, as a business, we've done nothing but suggest that this stuff should be bottled at, a higher proof. And, I think for that reason and maybe others, like there's a lot of people out there that just could not wrap their heads around that. But it's got a lot of character on the nose.
Well, yeah, it really does. Yeah, it certainly doesn't smell weak.
No, I mean,
I
it's
really
definitely not.
appreciate Claude's note there because he's bang on.
Nose is 90s hockey card bubblegum. Oh, you mean the kind that like cuts your
Like
mouth?
an O Peachy.
Yeah, it cut the kind that you put a whole stick in your mouth and a jagged edge like shoots right into the roof of it. But it's got that little dusting of powder on it.
Right, like you start chewing it expecting it'll soften up, but it doesn't.
No.
It's got like mustard powder and like sausages, like spicy sausages on the nose for me.
And the mustard powder, I like that. That's a good note. I was checking to see if there was a chance that Le Surge or Angus reviewed this guy, but I don't think they have yet. Um, because I'm curious to see what some other people think. But I remember when I noticed and tasted this for the first time, I actually thought it was quite good. And there was that comment about the gum now. Like it's definitely got this gum note to it. Like there's a bit of like spearmint gum
Yeah.
coming off on it now on the nose.
I admittedly, I don't know if you ever are guilty of this. I mean, I rarely add water to whiskey, but it does happen sometimes.
Mhm.
And I always think like I never get it right. So sometimes like drinking something at 40% where they've at least like carefully and like let it rest and settle. There is something to be said about that.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, some things do drink better at a lower ABV. I mean, the interesting thing would be to see what you lost versus what you gained
Hmm.
at that higher versus lower strength. Because I think for me, the one thing I'm not getting a ton of is like fruit. Like there's a bit of it. There's a bit of like kind of dull citrus notes to it,
Yeah.
but it's not what I would have expected from an Ardbeg of this age. I would have expected it to be a bit, like frankly, going a little bit more tropical.
Well, yeah, I don't know if something I've found like with the 19s and 25s the last few years, they're not as fruity as they used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's purposeful or what's going on there.
Well, I don't know, maybe shorter fermentations. I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know what's going on there. Like that's would have to be the major difference, or we're well before I mean, the new stills only went in what, about 5 or 6 years ago,
Yeah.
so maybe 8, 7, like that can't be the cause.
I mean, it is interesting that Lafroy came out and said we need to lengthen our fermentations. Like someone someone clearly noticed.
Well, you know why they did that? Because when Suntory bought Beam, for whatever reason, I think to make sure they didn't piss off the Americans, which fair enough. I think we've seen an example of that recently. They didn't rename the company Suntory. They called it Beam Suntory and kind of pretended it was a merger. And they put the Beam people in charge of Scotland. And all the distilleries, including Bowmore, Glengarry, they all shortened their fermentations
Yeah.
because that was the Beam ethos. Like churn out as much spirit as you can, as quickly as you can. And in the last 5 years, Suntory has wound all of that back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I know we have a Scapa Canadian exclusive cast coming with Gordon MacPhail, and like it's
Mhm.
a 2000, and that's what was appealing to me is that it's from that time when, Scapa had the longest fermentation times. Because you're
Yeah.
right, I think when Chivas, like, it was ironic because they took over the distillery and they're like, yeah, we're gonna get it going, and like the first thing they did was half the fermentation time.
Yeah. Because I mean, they were, as much as we can be cynical about these things, like they weren't looking at it from the standpoint of
No.
an artisan making spirit. They were just looking at it from a purely, we need X liters of volume. If we do X and Y, we'll increase, how much volume we have. And it was purely a math decision. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like I like to think that, especially looking back, if some of these guys knew what the consequences of that would be moving forward, they probably wouldn't have, maybe they would have made slightly different decisions. They might
Yeah.
not have made the same ones they did.
Yeah. No, you're probably right.
But I mean, the palate on this, it's very drinkable. It's very light. I mean, in some ways, other than the peat, like this could almost go right at the start of the tasting. Like we could have almost started with this whiskey.
Yeah, I would agree completely. Yeah, it does always make me think like, if you're regularly drinking 40% whiskey and someone put this Benrinnes 22-year-old in front of you, like it must just taste like you're chewing on a piece of coal.
Yeah. You probably would think twice before drinking what you drink the next time.
Yeah.
Well, any other thoughts on that, Harmony or James?
Well, I still do enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, to me, it does drink weak, but what is there, it's pretty solid.
Hmm.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I like it more than the last couple batches of 19-year-old, which is
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah, I
Well,
would
that
agree with you.
I mean, that first batch was so good.
I
I mean,
know
the
it was
second
so
and
good.
third were pretty good too, but the first batch was like knockout.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're gonna shed a single tear.
Exactly. All right. I on to the last one. The last one in tonight's lineup. I literally just threw this in the lineup because speaking of Suntory, they put it on deep LTO. And I grabbed a couple of bottles. I'm pretty sure this has been in a tasting before, but I loves me some Bowmore. I think people know that. So that's how it made it its way into tonight's tasting. And truth be told, I think I've said this. It's coming to an end, but I really hated this collab. In fact, I hate most luxury brand collaborations because I don't think they add any value.
Yeah.
I don't know that like Aston Martin drink like buyers went out and bought a bunch of Bowmore. Like I just don't think the world works that way. James, you have
It
you're
only works if they collaborate with an architect, right?
but begrudgingly, I think I've liked almost every single one of these releases. Uh these Masters selection releases. They're horrifically overpriced, but as you saw
Well,
from that,
do you ever feel, Andrew, like if we went in and we had a competition and like put legit money on the line, said, go in all the casks here, everything's 20 years old plus, and whoever makes the worst whiskey wins the prize money, you'd get to the end and we'd be like, I like all these.
yeah,
They're all good.
yeah,
No one wins.
no one wins. Yeah. I mean, I think like Kalila, probably the only way to screw up Bowmore of this age is like a bad cask. And I
Yeah.
mean, I know not everyone's going to agree with that because there was definitely that era, mostly before this, that had that really big like lavender, that sweet lavender note that we've
Yeah.
talked about lots of times. But I'm a
Well,
sympathetic
yeah, I mean,
whiskey
and that's a
drinker when it
notable
comes to
comment
that.
because to me, this that's the first thing I was looking for, and I'm not really getting it the way I was in edition, especially edition one.
No,
But there was a
it's
little bit in edition two, I thought too.
there's a little trace of it there, but that lavender is not
Mm-hmm.
the star of the show anymore.
It's gone.
Oh, Will is spitting fire. He likes Bowmore 25 better than the Austin Martin editions. I
That's
love
fair.
it.
Well,
I
what
get
about
I
this,
that.
love the
Will?
spicy takes.
Will, have you stacked up our Bowmore 97 against that? Because I think we've done that twice now, and I think the berries edged that out and then some.
Yeah.
But that's just going back on memory. And granted, I have a vested interest in people liking one of those more than the other. Kind of. It's more going back to more to ego than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I see collabs like this, I want to know how it works. Like, should you have to buy a bottle of this Bowmore and prove receipt before buying an Austin Martin, and then they take it off the price? Like you have to drive your Austin Martin straight to the liquor store and buy a bottle,
Well,
insert bottle here, or the car won't start. Like,
as as Angus said on Whiskey Sponge many years ago, there's an irony to a drinks company and a car company partnering together because drinking and driving is not exactly looked kindly upon anymore,
I know.
and fair enough.
I was asked to do a Lamborghini tasting, and I was like, how does that work if I do a tasting at a dealership and you're trying to promote cars?
I still think
I
that the
don't think it
biggest
works.
factor in these types of collabs is hubris. I like,
Yeah.
you have to remember, like, I mean, I've sat through these meetings, everything gets thrown up on the whiteboard and Don Draper's up there and, he either cares about your idea or he doesn't. And,
Yeah.
that's how these things unfold.
Well, and I think one of the things that people may not know, which maybe should give you a tiny bit of sympathy for the chaps at Bowmore is I think Aston Martin burned them on this last release because uh, they were I think this was supposed to continue longer. Allegedly, no money changed hands between the company, which I find hard to believe, but that's what they say. I think Aston Martin has partnered now with Glenlivet. It's
That's true.
it's
Oh,
an,
interesting. Well, Aston
and
Yeah.
Martin's owned by a Canadian, isn't it?
what's that?
Aston Martin is owned by a Canadian.
Could be. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But they started their partnership with Glenlivet before the contract with their Bowmore relationship ended. So yeah.
Wow. I mean, if in their mind, if no money crossed hands, is it a breach of contract?
Oh man.
It's
But
all
Question.
about the dollars.
Well, I feel like long term, like I will always look back fondly at these Bowmore Aston Martin releases. Like I've enjoyed every single one.
I I still think the palate, especially on this, is superb.
Yeah.
It's definitely tropical. It's a little syrupy. Real that nice kind of really rounded, soft, subtle, like ashy Bowmore peat at 20 plus years of age.
Yeah, it's so integrated. It's such a perfect age.
I really hate the collab, but every single
Mhm.
one of these releases that I've tried, I was like, okay, it's good. Like,
Mhm.
I might not like the idea, but the liquid or the price, but the liquid is good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sad that it's in my glass.
No, no.
No, it's I like it more than the whiskey before this.
Yeah. I will say though, I
Mhm.
don't think it's at the same level as the first release.
Mm.
Maybe
But
a
I
toss up
mean,
with the second.
but I mean, how often is that the case, James? I
Oh,
mean,
I know. That's the thing, right? Like, well, that's true. The fact that they're all kind of in the same ballpark quality wise is impressive.
mhm.
Yeah.
But at that same token, like I can think of so many things where there's been very few. I think maybe something like, and again, this is not comparing apples to apples, but like the first Black Arts that Adam Hannett did, I thought was better than the first four that Jim McEwen did.
Yeah, I agree
And
with
I
that for
and I
sure.
think, but I
Yeah,
mean,
my favorite one is 8.
yeah. But the thing is, like, those were vintage wise, cask wise, all over the map. Like
Yeah.
these Bowmores are comparable age, relatively similar builds, and the first one was the one that stood out. And I think the challenge with stuff like this is that when you do that first one, you can pick from everything. But
Yeah.
then when you go to do the second, maybe you've already picked some of the best casks. So now you're picking from
Yeah.
the second best casks.
Yeah, and you're kind of trying to force it. I've heard Billy talk about this with the 10-year-old. It's like you want it to be different every time, and so you can force it.
But I mean, do you think that's the logic that a lot of other, I mean, Billy's cool with that. Like Billy gets that consumers that buy by and large the brands that he creates, they're accepting of the fact that their favorite whiskey will not always be the same from batch to batch.
Right. It's implicit
So as
in
long as it's good, they
the
don't
appeal.
care.
Yeah.
But if you're Bowmore or Lefroy or Ardbeg, what's more important, quality or consistency?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always kind of feel like that with Lefroy 25. Like they probably tr are trying to make it taste the same every year, but you just kind of can't.
And it's yeah, and they never succeed.
Yeah.
So all right, speed round time, guys. So we're going back to the start. We're going back to that Berries blended malt, 1999, still nosing lovely. So much
Oh,
chocolate. It makes
and
me think of like Maltesers, like opening a bag of Maltesers now.
Oh man.
totally.
I adore this.
Oh man, like the
Again,
kind
yeah,
of
this
like
really reminds me of like old bottlings of Highland Park 25 and 30. It really does.
Mhm. Oh, totally on the
oh,
palate.
this is so
Well, I
beautiful.
think for those who don't maybe get it, or like some of those notes you get in that sort of faded fruit, that kind
Mhm.
of dusty profile, I think, we could probably fairly with this one even add in that Vellicore note that Compass Box made
Totally.
famous with one of their whiskeys. Like
Yeah, it's very antique-y.
It has a very antique profile to it, and it's
And it like that
hard to
antique flavor
find.
just pops.
Yeah, and it's hard to find in modern whiskey. Like there's not a lot of modern
No,
whiskeys that have this profile.
no.
So that's why some of us are oohing and awing over it, but man,
Yeah,
still
some people must not like it though.
for sure.
No, no, they must like it.
All right, on to the Tormore. It, I might have guessed this was wine cask based on the nose now. It's got a little bit of a like a leathery tannic note.
Mhm. That popcorn note's still there though.
Oh, boys, it ever.
Oh man,
Yeah, and it's like distinctly like caramel corn popcorn.
Yeah.
totally.
A little bit of like boozy berry notes too.
Hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. I mean,
Yeah.
No.
I kind of feel
Yeah,
that
especially when you know the price too. It's very good.
I was just about to say that. I think when you put it in the context of the range and the price, and if you're an agnostic whiskey drinker as I am, where you just want something that's good, you're not looking for a specific style.
Yeah.
It's very drinkable.
Mhm.
It's a good dram. All right. How much has
Oh, I
this?
love, by the way, Sasha's note is great. Yogurt
Thank
dipped granola
you.
bars.
A hundred, yeah, that resonated with me instantly. Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Yeah, my
job.
kids get those from Costco. It's like $18 and there's like 70 bars in them. You're like, how do they do that?
Well, and how does the yogurt not go bad?
Hmm.
It's like
Maybe it's not
cheese.
yogurt.
That's not yogurt. Um, all right. How much has this McPhail's 30 opened up?
Out of 10.
No. On the palate a lot more.
Like the nose has got nice floral, fruity tones to it. Really makes me think of like Glenlivet. It really reminds me of those
Yeah.
old Smith's Glenlivet bottlings.
Hmm. I will tell you it is not Glenlivet.
I know, but just throwing that out there because this has this kind of Smith's Glenlivet vibe to it.
I would put this first in the tasting order for myself.
Hmm. Maybe this, then the Ardbeg 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. That would
And the
actually, I think,
berries.
follow each other really nicely.
Yeah.
You know what, I think it's probably it probably would have showed a little better.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then like go Tormore, Benrinnes, Bowmore at the end.
yeah, I think the blended malt could have bumped to third, followed by,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you
after
never know until you try these.
no,
Yeah.
but all right. Signet Reserve. I know James, you mentioned this about a different whiskey tonight, but there's this nose now of it reminds me of like, I don't know, antique collection rye. Like so Thomas Handy or Sazerac,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
those antique collection bottlings.
Yeah. Well, old
Or
Sazerac.
Michter's 10-year-old.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Michter's 10 rye.
Victor's 10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Maybe because it's starting to feel a little oxidized from the first time we tried it.
Yeah.
It's kind of going that way. Yeah, that's a good note. That rye's a good note.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's opened up. This feels like one of those bottles that's like a pop and pour.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
don't think it's going to change a lot. If anything, I think those chocolate and coffee notes, like I feel like it's going to get more bitter in the bottle than like sweeter.
Yeah.
it to me it's like a Dairy Cream soft serve dipped in chocolate. Like it's
Like
Yeah.
a dilly bar.
I suppose that's like a take home version, so sure.
Well, I'm writing all this down so that if I ever do have that conversation in
You
my
can be like,
office,
hey, Dr. Bill,
try this dilly
phone to pick
bar
with
and tell
you.
me what it reminds you of.
Yeah. Or peanut buster parfait bar. What are they called? Buster
Yeah.
bars.
Buster
Yeah,
Bar.
strangers like it from other countries when you walk up to them and say the word dilly.
I had a friend named Dilly, but we named him that in high school because he got fired from Dairy Queen for stealing dilly bars. So it
Well, I
was
hope his
Dilly for the
mental health
next
is
six
okay,
years. Oh, he's fine now.
if you say so.
I still don't remember his real name, but
That's a tough life. That's a tough life lesson to learn, though. So, um,
yeah.
very drinkable. I would say that this is both one of the most well put together bottlings in tonight's tasting, and also the most one dimensional.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's where we should give it some props is the skill in blending that, like kudos.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I guess the other part of it is they're not making it for probably the three of us, at the very least, if not most of the people on tonight's tasting. So, I mean,
Right.
if for no other reason, then what else can you buy for that amount of money? I mean, you can get a couple of good Gordon MacPhail 20-plus-year-old single casks for that money. So
Yeah. Or right now, like $50 more and you've got that Bowmore.
it's a good point. It's a good point. All right, Benrinnes.
This is still showing really well.
James, were you on the tasting where we were floating the idea of Scotland's worst distilleries? Were you?
Yeah, I know you don't love Benrinnes. Well, you're probably aware too, there's a 30 or a 29-year-old Benrinnes that's like about to hit the market.
So just to qualify, I don't like young Benrinnes, but
Yeah, no,
then
I that's fair.
I also don't like young Othrusk,
Yeah.
or I could go on naming about a half dozen other distilleries. I can never think of having had a good bottling at a young age before.
Well, you and I had this conversation, and I know we're so spoiled when we tried those closed distilleries from Gordon MacPhail. Like that was what occurred to me is that, if we were around 30 years ago, we would hate all of those distilleries
Yeah,
because what makes them great in their old age is the
yeah.
fact that they have faults. That so, the distillate is not nondescript. It has character even at like 40, 50 years old because it's bad, because the
Well, and
distillate had flaws.
and it was probably an oak that was slightly more tired.
Yeah,
And what we really like are the kind of tropical notes that come out from the fact that it was just basically abandoned in a cask for 40 plus years.
totally.
Um, yeah, I admit I like this Benrinnes. I think the nose has grown on me even over the course of the tasting. It's got a very like eat more vibe to it now.
Hmm.
It's just really well built, isn't it? It's got a nice start. It's got
Hmm.
character. It kind of pulls you back. It's interesting too because it does have some of that chocolatey profile of the Signet, but it's nice because it's got like the base notes behind it.
Um, it's good.
Yeah.
I think the only knock I would have on this, James, is that I don't know how it would stack up against our 23-year-old Glen Talkers, which is about the same price.
Right. Yeah, so that's the next question, right? Is that then yeah, you can kind of get into those splitting hairs.
Right. But
Um,
still, it's a very good bottling.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah, and they're both of those are in very much the same family where it's like if you just put like B quality distillate in an A quality sherry cask for 20 years, you probably still get an A.
so Evan has surreptitiously, I noticed, joined the tasting at some point here, incognito, probably taking part in it to see how the bingo card is going tonight. And James, I don't know if you caught wind of that or if you saw that from the email
Well,
tonight.
that was quite the pun you just had because yeah, that's the equivalent of what Evan just did here is like walk into the room and pass wind.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm has he left? I'm trying to find him now.
I think I don't know, maybe he was at a hockey meeting for his kid, but I've been writing down ideas for new bingo squares because I read the new one and there's some repeats, which are fine because bingo cards share similar numbers. Um, but yeah, all right, we didn't get too many on this one. Uh,
Disappointing. I
well, I
mean,
can think of two.
I
Yeah.
uh I am enjoying because I feel if the bingo card isn't completed, I win. So
Well, Well,
the house wins.
joke's on me. I didn't bring the old bingo card. I just bought the new one, but
Yeah.
I will cross-reference the old one to this one, but I still don't think we have a bingo.
No.
Mainly because like we're missing some Kurt. We need some Kurt on these
Oh,
tastings.
I need to talk about his hand fixations.
Well,
So
I mean, that would help, but definitely that would get us a square. But just in general, there's some Kurt references that we're all missing.
the other day, I witnessed him for the first time actually perform music on his guitar.
I,
So
I've witnessed it at
Oh.
work and I have made a recording, but never on a
yeah.
virtual.
Anyway, Ardbeg 17, because we got to keep this show on the road.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's still good, but it's fading. Like it really
It is
just needs to
fading.
be at the front end. It's like a really witty elderly person who you like listening to, and they have great things to say, but they now take too long to say them. So you're like getting impatient with it or with them. But I will say this, it's the one whiskey that I've completely finished, probably because it's so light.
Who made the bingo board again?
Probably Evan.
Evan made it based off an idea. I think I've been wanting to do a bingo night for like over a year, and I'm hoping that's what sparked it. But I mean, even if it's not, I'm going to take a small token of a credit. But he came up with the squares, which we love.
Yeah. Anyway, the bingo card's pretty funny. I the mistake they made though, James, the night they rolled it out is letting me know it existed.
That was the
Um,
second night.
was it the second night? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
You're past the point of like it didn't bother you at all, did it?
Oh, fuck no. I love it. I think it's very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely no issues with that.
well,
At
I get
all.
triggered when I hear words that are on the card and then you don't react the way the card says you'll react. And it's like somebody said opens up, whiskey opens up, and I was like, oh, what's Andrew gonna say about it?
Oh,
Please
This is one of the things I've noticed, by the way,
mention
about whiskey
water.
versus wine people. Wine people are not like wine people would be offended by these things.
Their egos are too sacrosanct.
Yeah, exactly.
I
No,
think it's
James,
lovely.
as much more than not being offended, I'm flattered that they would waste company time to do it. So, what does that one say, Harmony?
The tasting starts more than 5 minutes late. So
Yeah.
the standard KWM time, and then the speed round or second pass through the drams of the tasting takes more than 15 minutes. We are currently at 13 minutes.
Yeah, get stuck in the mud, I think is what
Yeah,
we say.
which is
So,
great.
yeah.
That's another
There's too
good
many
idea.
rabbit holes to go down. I think that's
I
part of the fun of
know.
it.
Yeah.
So I think last whiskey, Bowmore, 22-year-old. Any final comments on this one?
Yeah, I still wish that this had a little bit more of like salty, tangy pop on the nose. Like that's what would make it just,
Yeah.
but yeah, very happy with this. I mean, the finish is so spectacular.
A little bit more Bowmore marmalade, maybe.
Yeah.
The palate on that is fantastic. So,
Yeah. I know it sometimes feels like these old Bowmores are like cheating, that they're like almost in another league than other distilleries, but this one is like a little bit more down to earth, but it's still great.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a little torn on this one here. I'm not sure how to lay out my three favorites, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire the poll up here. So, three questions. There is a cheeky third question. We'll see what it is. What's on your mind? Wondering if there's a third choice in the poll or not. Deciding which Pernod Ricard distillery would be sold off and imported vastly by the new ownership next. And vastly improved, I think, or improved vastly.
Yeah.
Pondering which mystery distillery the MacPhail's 30 Your Glen Grant comes from feeling a sense of nostalgia for the heavily watered down older Isla single malt release of yesteryear and trying to figure out why Scotch whiskey companies want to have a car brand tie-in so badly.
Like
Those
he
are,
knew exactly how this would telegraph.
yeah.
We're not so transparent, are we?
I feel
So
like there's an envelope where Evan opens up and has our top three and like guesses them all correctly for all three of us.
New square on the board. Evan and Andrew actually agree on what the best two whiskeys of the lineup are. New square.
I'm not sure that's ever happened. I
That's
think
all
we might have
dependent on
agreed
if
on
there's
one of
something
them
from
once.
Tormore in the tasting.
New square on the board. Harmony and Evan make it sound like Tobermory Lecheg is the best thing since sliced bread was sliced.
Mhm. All right. While
Yeah,
people
do
are
you want me to
voting
go on
here,
my top three?
yeah,
Yeah.
James, why don't you tell us
Sure.
your top three?
Yeah, my number one tonight for sure is the berries. I mean,
Mhm.
that is just, oh man.
Yeah.
It's just
So
it
good.
just hits that little magic note. And it's just like it's just so pure. Um, I remember someone saying like the thing about that makes like the difference between good and great wine is that the great wine is elegant with the
Mhm.
intensity, and that's to me what that has is it has this elegance. Like that's the part you can't fake.
Yeah. I
Number
agree.
two is gonna be the Bowmore, just because it's freaking expensive old Bowmore and screw everybody else.
Yeah.
And number three to me would be the Benrinnes today. Just a great old, you know, thanks Urquhart's for spending all that money on your sherry casks.
Yeah.
Back
Exactly.
back in the days before Billy was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna spend how much?"
Hmm. Harmony?
Um, I'm gonna agree that Barry's 99. It's fantastic. Um, I'm also gonna second your second, James, with the Bowmore. And then for me, I'm gonna have to say the MacPhail 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I like how it's still, I like the nose, I like the finish.
Mhm.
It's a very nice dram. Andrew?
I'm still deciding.
Oh
Um,
dear.
but actually, Harmony, I think I'm gonna go bang on with you. The Berry Brothers for me was my favorite. The Bowmore, if I'm being honest, in a blind tasting, if I knew nothing about the whiskeys, I might have edged ahead of that. But given that even at the current price, you could have almost three of the berries for the cost of the Bowmore. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to put the other one ahead of it. And I
Not to
like
mention you
that.
could have your own
What's
Bowmore, which
that?
I do think your Bowmore is a notch ahead of this.
I think it is still a notch ahead of this. It's not as sherried, but I think it is still a notch ahead of this. Um, and then the last one is that MacPhail's 30. I mean, it's it's not the best whiskey in the lineup, but it's got to be one of the most drinkable. And I think for me, I think it's even more drinkable than that Glenmorangie because it's just
Agreed.
I think I would get tired of the Glenmorangie. James, I'm going to use a Michter's reference here for you. It's like the Michter's American, which
Yeah.
is that overly sweet style of whiskey. It's too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that Michter's is designed to be like blended off, but in a cocktail. But
Mhm.
that's why I said this is just a really awesome $600 Amaro.
Mhm.
If you blend all the whiskeys from tonight into one glass, which Evan often does, and then will text me about later, um, this is a banger, actually.
Well,
So
I did try the Tormore plus Glenmorangie, and it does work well together.
I mixed all of them except the MacPhail because I drank it all. Um, and just a tiny 99, but it is delicious.
so I am demanding to know how Evan is able to like take part in the chat without being part of the tasting.
Andrew, do not ask questions you do not want the answers to.
He is he has figured out the back door into uh,
Zoom.
Zoom, I
You
think.
know
Is
what, Andrew? Tomorrow you're gonna roll over, pick up your phone, and as you pick it up, a message is gonna come from Evan that says "Good morning."
that'll be too much. Unless is there an Evan bot? Has he programmed an Evan bot to answer questions in an Evan fashion for himself.
Well, if he did, all I know is he did not do it on company time.
Oh, I was just checking to see if this was an homage name change, which is also a square on the board.
Oh,
But I don't see one. I think Evan
yeah.
might be the spirit.
Oh,
He might be a
he
ghost.
might be. He might be.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, the results. Let's share the results and then wrap this thing up. So, uh, most of you voted. You know what? I'm going to give it 10 seconds. There's 3 of you have not voted. If you can see your way to doing that in the next 10 seconds, great. If not, I guess you just want Trump to be your president, is what I'm hearing here. So, no, no one. Okay, killing it. So the winner tonight, top whiskey, was the Berries Blended Malt, edging out the Bowmore, Benrinnes in third, Tormore in fourth. That's really interesting. Then second
Yeah.
favorite, it looks like it's still the Berries Blended Malt. So it's double winner tonight. Signet Reserve ties with the Bowmore for second in the second round. And if I'm correct, everything but Ardbeg got a vote tonight.
Yeah.
So
Womp womp.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, but you know what? Guess which sold probably the most bottles? Probably that Ardbeg 17.
I
So
mean,
far.
globally, yes, through our store, I think the berries might still have edged it out. So,
Yeah.
and we still have stock available.
Yeah.
Both.
My guess is that won't last super long.
No. The answer to what's on your mind, the top answer, feeling a sense of nostalgia for the heavily watered down older Isla single malt release of yesteryear, followed by trying to figure out why Scotch whiskey companies want to have a car brand tie-in so badly. I mean, I think mainly it's so Macallan can tell people to fuck off from a Bentley, which, I mean, that's next level. I think that's always going to be next level. Who can surpass
You
that?
know what? It's a shame that someone like High Coast didn't come out and do like a Volvo partnership
Oh yeah.
just to be cheeky.
They
Well,
probably
I
would
mean, it's
if they were
practical,
asked.
like sort of luxury. I being a Volvo driver would actually kind of love that though.
Yeah, I would buy an S50 High Coast.
I want the XC, man. I want the cross country. It's got to
Okay.
be an XC for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
you live where in a land with potholes.
we do live in a land with potholes. That's right. Pondering which mystery distillery the MacPhail's 30-year Glen Grant comes from, came third. Deciding which Pernod Ricard distillery would be sold off and improved vastly by the new ownership next. Everybody got a vote on this, wondering if there was a third choice or not in the poll. I mean, was that a bingo card spot as well? Asking whether Evan had actually come up with a cheeky third question or not?
No, the poll at the end of the tasting has third, um, curiously irrelevant questions. Evan is to blame. These were relevant,
Ah,
unfortunately.
okay.
It's when he does the irrelevant questions, like about cereal or other things.
Right.
It's totally fair.
Yeah, he got us good on this one.
Well, one of the bingo square things that should have been like an automatic job is, will Andrew actually read emails put out by the rest of the staff? Because
Well,
I missed the bingo card in clearly 2 emails.
it's
So
on your Zoom link that you get sent for the tasting. If you keep scrolling, it's in there.
yeah, I don't
Nobody
scroll through
keeps
the,
scrolling.
I just click accept. I just click accept. I don't read it. It's from the store. It's gonna go in my calendar. I just click accept.
That's
So
okay. We're waiting for the Andrew has difficulty something dot square to come up in the future. It'll happen.
it might or it might
It
not.
will.
Hey,
It
James,
will.
going back one last thing before we go. Was it the Tormore and the Signet Reserve that you were gonna blend?
Oh yeah, and I did it. It works great.
Yeah.
They go well together, like lovely. They offset each other nicely. It brings it to a good strength.
I've just
I mean,
done
that
it
butter
myself.
popcorn note is just like undeniable, but
I actually think it's that Glenmorangie Reserve that's keeping everything together in my eco what's it
Hey,
called?
James,
Infinity Dram.
I think I know what you need to approach Dr. Bill with next time you see him. Dr. Bill, I know how to improve Glenmorangie.
Maltesers.
Blend Tormore into it.
Oh, well, I'm sure
Uh,
he's got his share of Sickinder stories.
I'm sure he does. Well, without
Yeah.
going down roots, there's also quite a few stories about Dr. Bill that won't be
Oh,
repeated.
yeah, I've got some beauties.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, James, Harmony, thank you for this. Everyone, thank you for taking part in tonight's tasting. I hope you enjoyed it. James, I think, do we have a Glenallachie next week? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah. One
Oh
more?
my gosh.
Yeah.
So I was about to say I'm sick of sherry, but that's incorrect. I love sherry. Sherry's amazing.
Well,
Sherry, have you
are
ever
we,
had a sherry cask?
are we doing like 21, 30, and 35 for that one?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, until next Tuesday, I hope everyone who's celebrating Passover is enjoying Passover. Happy Easter, happy Chocolate Day. Enjoy your long weekend, everybody, and we'll see some of you back here again next Tuesday.
Good
Till then,
night.
Slange. Thanks, guys.